Welcome to Tech and More. As part of the ongoing series that is writing different types of test cases for different scenarios pertaining to Salesforce, we are here in another video wherein we have this registration page as discussed in previous video and previous to previous video, wherein we are designing test cases for different fields on the registration page. Today, we are going to talk about the fields which is role, the field which is country, and the field which is password, right, which is at a later stage. It's not visible right now. So we'll be talking about how to design test cases for these fields and what is the template and everything, right? So let's start. I will go to the spreadsheet and I will start with the test cases for the role field. So as you can see on the screen right now, this is the role field. I'm sorry, this one. And it, when you click on it, it's a drop down, right? So you need to verify that the values that you see on the drop down are correct or not. Cool. So let's go to the test case title. The test case title reads validate the options in the drop down role. So we have this. I mean, you can elaborate this. I've just kept it short for learning purpose. Then we'll skip the parameters because I've already explained them in the first video. You can go ahead and watch it. And if you have been seeing my videos till now, you know that I have explained and jotted out this point in each and every video before this. So now let's go to the test steps, right? So the first step says navigate to this URL, which we already are. Second step says click on the role field, which we already did. I'll click on it again. Then it says, in the third step, it says verify the below mentioned options are visible after the click. So the options are developer, architects, slash CTO, admin, IT manager, slash executive, and business manager, slash executive, right? So I'll click on this and I'll find these options and I can see and I can verify that all these 5 options are here. So I can say that the expected thing was that the options mentioned should be present on the click of drop down, and they are. So it is working as expected. So this test case is a pass. Now, let's suppose you wanted to design a negative test case for it, which I've not written on the spreadsheet, but I'm just talking about it right now. If you wanted to design a negative test case, then in that case, you could have easily said that verify that no other values apart from these 5 values are present in the role field, right? That is what a negative test case would have been. So this is all about all the steps about the test case pertaining to the drop down field role, right? Now let's go to the other test case wherein we will be discussing the validations of the field country. So I'll click on the country field and I'll see these different options here. Now, of course, it is very similar to the earlier test case wherein you have to verify that the country field is it's present or not, and the options which we are talking about are there or not, right? So it's very similar, and the same thing will be for negative test case. Now you might have this question that if they were so similar, why did I design 2 different test cases? These are designed to help you. Let's suppose you're working on a project and you need to simply copy paste, and these fields, the country field, the role field, and these are very common test cases. So you can simply go ahead, copy from here and paste it in your project and use accordingly. That will save a lot of time for you, right? That is the intent behind it. Now these are the validations pertaining to the drop down field, that is role and country. Got it? This is number one. Number two is that we are going to discuss the test case for password. Now, as I mentioned in the very start, we do not see the password field right now because once you sign up, then you get an email and then from there on you set a password, right? So I'm not going to deep dive into it because you know what a password field looks like. So I'm not going to waste time in that. But we are going to discuss how do you verify or validate that the password is correct, or how do you make sure that the password parameters have been designed correctly by the dev team, right? So you see this test case in the spreadsheet, and let's read the title. The title read validate the input password should have the mentioned parameters for further processing, right? So let me go ahead and let me see what these parameters are. So of course we'll skip the first step, that is navigate to URL, because we've already done that. In the second step it reads fill in the password with data passwords, right? And then expected result says that user should get an error asking the user to fill in data with mentioned parameters, right? So it says if you just input the word passwords here in the password field, an error should be thrown because it should ask you to input password in a way which is in tandem with the parameters that are supposed to happen, right? So in the third step, it says fill in the data with parameters that is must be minimum of 8 characters. So I'm talking about the parameters now. It says it should be minimum of 8 characters. It should contain at least one alphabet, and it should contain at least one number, right? So when you do this, then only the password will be accepted and you will be able to process, right? And since everybody nowadays is on the computer, and you are, of course, but I mean, preparing, or I mean, you are of course very much well versed with computers and have been using them on a regular basis. So you know that nowadays it's not that you simply go ahead and put a password. No, there are a couple of parameters. For example, small case, uppercase, special alphabet, minimum length, maximum length. All these parameters have to be there. So when you get such a situation in your project and you have to test out a password field, always make sure that you test out from this end. Now, let's suppose you are testing and you come across this particular error that there are no parameters set for a better security. And but in the functionality also it was not given. At that point of time also, you should not just sit and pass the test case. No, do one thing, go ahead and suggest this as an enhancement. So your job as a QA is to design test cases, break the system, log issues, retest, and all those n number of things. Uh, but there is one more very important role that you have in your domain, is that you have to give enhancements. Now, the client might not know that the parameters are very important because they are not from the tech background. They do not know the risks involved with a normal password, right? And so you go ahead, have a word with the client and tell them that, you know what, this is what I have in my mind. Explain them logically that how will it benefit them, and then you design these parameters and share with them, and then get a confirmation, and then you ask the dev team to implement it and then test it. That makes an enhancement overall, and that adds a lot of value to your work, to your profile, to your position in the organization, for sure. A QA who gives a very good logical enhancements to the project is very far and has a very good a reputation from the QA perspective, because she or he understands the system. She or he tries to implement the good things that are seen in other systems to your existing project that you're working on. So always make sure that you give these suggestions, these enhancements, in case if even if there are not, right? So I hope that these test cases on drop down fields on passwords are clear to you. The best benefit that you can take from here is that you can simply copy this entire test case in front of you, all these fields and parameters, simply paste them in your test case, make some changes according to your project, and then you're good to go. That will save you a lot of time. So of course, as mentioned earlier, I'm sharing the URL to this spreadsheet in the in the description. You can simply go ahead, access this data, these steps, these rows, and use it in your project as you wish, right? So I hope that this is series till now that we are pausing for now, that is designing the different types of test cases, was helpful to you. And if you have any suggestions or any improvements that we can work upon, please let us know and we'll be more than happy to help. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.